We've got a really packed agenda. I want to welcome everyone to the September I2B2 community meeting. We actually haven't had one of these meetings since May, because we had the June meeting, and then a lot of things going on, a lot of things going on this year. So thrilled that folks are able to join. But let me kick this off. I can advance my slide. All right, so here's the agenda. I'm going to do a really very quick foundation update, just a few things that are going on internally within the foundation. Jeff Plan will be taking a little bit of a deep dive and a little demo into 1.8.2. We're actually going to be releasing that this month, so super exciting. Mark Abajian is going to be talking about the work that the Ontology Working Group has been doing. A lot going on in that group, some exciting stuff. And then Mitch is going to be giving a sneak preview of the new website that we'll be launching soon. All right. Just a mention, a number of you probably joined us in June at our symposium. I just wanted to let people know I really believe this year was probably our best conference ever. We actually had 550 registrations, which is a record. We don't charge, so a lot of those people were no-shows, but still a lot of interest. About half of the people that did show up were in person, so we had a very big group in person, and also 50% remote. The group was like super engaged. I think this year people really wanted to come together and collaborate with one another. So it was a lot of energy. The second day was a workshop. Half of the people loved it, and half of the people really didn't love it. So I think we're gonna have to really think through how we roll out workshops and who we invite to those. So always some work to do. And just a reminder, all of our materials and recordings are on our website. And stay tuned. Within the next month or two, we'll be letting you know when the dates are for next year. All right, a couple of things going on with our board of directors. We every year we have a few members that roll off. So Chi Lee and Catherine Lazugia. She was from InterSystems, and Catherine is from UMass Medical Center. They have rolled off. And two changes within the board, within our current board members that are Abu Moza moved from University of Missouri to University of Alabama. So congratulations to Mosa. Very exciting. He still wants to remain as a board member. And then Dave Diamond. So Dave has moved on from Dell and is now joining the I2B2 Foundation as the Chief Growth Officer. So I could not be more excited and thrilled to have Dave as a partner in our foundation and help us move things along and really grow as an organization. So you'll see a change, I think, in the foundation with Dave on board. So super excited. We will be reaching out and recruiting the two vacant board seats. Our major focus is, staying financially stable. So the board members will help us with bringing in sponsorships, contributing themselves. So stay tuned for an announcement on that. And then I've always got to remind people that we have working groups that you can either join on a regular basis or just pop in and see what's going on. And so we have Ontology, a UI working group, and a committee on technology. Mark Abajian will talk about the Ontology working group and what's been going on in that group. The UI working group is really very much focused on changes to the user interface. And then the committee on technology has different topics every month that evolve the I2B2 and strategy and that type of thing. So that's another meeting that I think people might want to join. So that is it for me. And I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to turn this over to Jeff Clan, who will talk about the new release that's coming out.
Hey everybody. I'm going to share my window and that um, I think you're going to see my address bar. And so I apologize for that slight distraction, but it makes it a lot easier for me to see what I'm doing while I share. So I am going to talk about ITB2 1.8.2, which if you've been on these calls or talked to anyone about I2B2 recently, you've heard a lot about. It is finally going to be released this month. So we are almost there on the precipice of release. The acknowledgement slide just keeps growing for I2B2. Many, many, many people involved and have contributed over the years. A very quick run through here of what we've been working on in the 1.8 series. So not brand new in 1.8.2, but just 30 seconds. We used to have this old blue Commodore 64 looking user interface, and now it has been rewritten entirely in a modern UI libraries that's much more usable and it's much better looking. And it continues to be enhanced in this release with some minor changes in labeling and buttons have been moved around. There's an admin tool that we introduced in 1.8.1 and continue to work on. We've got some things slated for the next release in the admin tool, so that'll be exciting. You can administer users, you can associate users with projects, you can create new projects, and many other things. We added support a while ago for the OMOP data model, so you can now browse OMOP data tables in I2B2 through the Act on OMOP Ontology that Michelle Morris and others developed. And we have separately a package of digital twin features with two tools in there right now. One is a loyalty cohort tool that uses proxy measures to try to identify cohorts of patients that are more likely to have complete data and thus be more useful for research, and a computational phenotyping pipeline, which finds clusters of features that are actually associated with the patient having a disease, unlike a single diagnosis code, which has a very low positive predictive value. All right, on to 1.8.2 coming this month and hopefully very soon. Probably the most important thing, well, not the most exciting thing, is the security updates. We're moving to Java 17, which also allows us to move to Wildfly 37 and access to V2. Thus, ensuring that ITB2 is a secure platform that'll pass all enterprise code scans and things such as that. We have written faster patient counting scripts for all platforms. This was Darren Henderson wrote some great scripts for SQL Server. Now I've extended them to Oracle and Postgres. Bug fixes, performance improvements. Michelle has a new Act Ontology v4.2. And the big thing is the new export workflow with custom table designer and data export manager. The new Ontology, I didn't see Michelle on the agenda, so I'll talk through this real quick. There are mostly just updated tables. So all the new terms that are in UMLS 2024 AB have been added in many of the tables. So data export, I'm going to show two slides and then I'm going to try to do a live demo. So the 1.8.1 introduced the kind of the first pass at new data export. So in that, a user, if they were given permission, could request data from a cohort. So given a cohort query, you could select, give me the medication data and the demographics data. That would alert the manager associated with the project, and the manager could then go back and they would have access to these export options where they could run a data export to export the actual data for those patients in that cohort, and then those could be returned to the user. The workflow has improved a lot and with many new features in 1.8.2. So now you can do those I2B2 long tables of medication facts and diagnosis facts and whatnot. But you can also design a custom table, and I will show the custom table designer plugin, which is pretty flexible. And then that custom table will show up in your data request menu when you're ready to run a query. And then the data manager, rather than looking through their emails and reloading queries from the previous queries menu, can now go into a simple plugin and review the queries and the details of the queries that are requested and click a button to generate those files or file in the case of a custom table. And I'm going to still share this window and go to my web client. So I am logged in as a manager user, so I will be able to do all things. But usually there would be two pieces to this, and the first part is what the user would do. The user who is going to request a table and presumably has signed some kind of uh, data use agreement or IRB has been approved to be able to request this table. So the user will click on create data table for export, and then they can drag concepts over to the list. So predefined, you get gender, age, and race. And now this is my demo data set with asthma data. So perhaps I want to look at respiratory system diseases, chronic lung diseases, and I could drag over asthma. Now that will give me a column in the data file. And notice it says existence here. So it'll give me a column with a 1 in it for every patient because every patient in this data set has asthma, no matter what query I run. Um, but I can choose other aggregation options. I can look at the number of concepts, like the number of types of asthma that the patient has been diagnosed with, the number of dates, like the number of particular occurrences of an asthma diagnosis, the number of encounters, the number of facts, which is the raw number of occurrences of the thing, not just by encounter, and then the number of providers. I'm going to pick, let's see, first date, because that will show me the date that the person was first diagnosed with asthma. And just to show this feature, I can set a date constraint range, which is very similar to the ITB2 query tool, and say I want to only look at patients before 2018 for this research project. Now, I've done that. I might want to also add medication. So if I flip down to respiratory agents, maybe I'm interested in bronchodilators. And let's see, I could drag over just bronchodilators in general, and then it might be interesting to see if a patient is on more than one bronchodilator over the course of their medical history. I could click on number of concepts. And maybe I'm studying albuterol specifically, and so I want to find out when the last date was that they were prescribed albuterol. And this could be my data table. I just to show another feature, you can do query by value as well. So if you were to pick a, let's see, let's do liver function test. If we pick something that has a value range, then as in ITB2 regular queries, you can choose, oh, I only want people with an elevated ALT. But also now my aggregation options have changed slightly because it's dealing with numeric values. So there are these calculated values which you can get the mean or the average or the maximum or the minimum for that patient. I'll go with the average value. So then I can save my table. I can save it as a personal table that only I can access, or I can save it as a project shared table that any user in the same data project can access. Only administrators can save to system shared tables, and those are just templates that people can use to build from. So I will, let's see, I will be asthma1c, and the data table is saved. Now I want to request some data. So I'll do kind of a query that encompasses everyone in the data set, patients who are male or female, which does actually cover everyone. Everyone has one of those flags. And then when I run query, there's the normal query result with the breakdowns. But below that now, I have data requests. And I can put in my email address and so I can say I'm studying bronchodilators. This might be where, in a particular workflow, you might put an IRB number in there, or there can be different ways of using that. And I want to run it on the asthma 1C table. And so that did not take very long because it's just a cohort query with a patient set. And then I would just wait for my data manager, who was sent an email about this, to export the data. The data manager then, when they're ready to process data requests, would go into the data export manager, and this would allow them to see the tables that have been requested. They can see this one is for asthma 1C, earlier requested asthma 1B, with 133 patients. And 133 patients seems like a reasonable export size, so I'll run with that. And I can look at the details, and I can see who submitted it, and I can see, oh, they're studying bronchodilators. Okay, that's great. I will request the data file be generated. And now it says file in progress processing. If we refresh it, we see the file is available. The request ID we'll note is 10. Then a data manager would use a site-specific process to get to the directory on the server or the mount point where the data file is stored. It's all configurable. In this demo, we have a super secret web directory that lets us access the files on the server and the data export. This is all demo data anyway. So there is request 10 that we have requested, and you can see there's a letter. This is also all customizable. It's an email or an information sheet that goes out to the user about the data set that was requested. More important are the data set itself and the definition for the data set. So I am going to change my share, I think, so I can show you what's in those files. Just a second. No, there it is. Okay. So first, I'll show the definition file. So this is most useful for people who are intimately familiar with ITB2 data, and probably not for the average researcher, but it has all of the definitions of what was in the table down to the columns in the database. And so you can really dial down and look at what was requested. The average researcher might look at the column name like albuterol and that it was the max date, and the asthma was the min date for asthma, but it had to be less than December 2018. So that file really allows just a deep dive into the data that you requested. Then if we look at the asthma 1C file, we have the columns, the patient number, gender, age, race, and then remember we looked at the number of bronchodilators. So there are two different types of bronchodilators in these patients, 1 in these, 0 in these, and then albuterol is one of those two. And you can see the most recent date that they were prescribed albuterol, and you can see their average ALT and the first date they were diagnosed with asthma. So, for example, this patient was diagnosed in 2003 with asthma, but they were prescribed albuterol all the way through 2008. And the data is not, it doesn't even go up to 2018 actually. so it's all older data. So I have a couple of closing slides, but I'll stop here for a minute while I'm in demo mode and ask if anyone has any questions or comments on the demo.
This is Gigi. Just nice. It's nice work.
Thanks. A lot of people have been working hard on this for quite a while. So glad to hear.
Hey, Jeff, it's Mariah. How are you?
I'm
Thanks for the
good.
demo. I have a question. Is there a limit on the size of the table?
Yes. So there is a parameter that limits the number of patients in the table, and I think that's configurable as a system-wide definable parameter. Also, the intent is that a data manager will look at the patient set size in the data request manager before they click export. And if it says 1 million, then probably don't click on it.
Yeah.
We've tested it with fairly large data sets, but I don't think we've gone up to 1 million yet.
Gotcha. All right. Thanks.
All right. Hope you can all see my screen. Oh, I wanted to skip these. So community.i2b2.org is your place to go, or i2b2.org/software. You will see the release on both the front pages there if you go to either of those two websites, and expect it in a couple of weeks. There's also, of course, our Google group, Install Help, where we encourage people to ask any kind of question they want, not just install questions. We also have a public GitHub, a Jira, and we love new features. And there's the coming soon slide ChatGPT made for me. That's all I had, but not too much.
Technically still summer, right, Jeff?
Is it? When is? Yeah, when
It's
is?
close enough.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, we can still call it summer. That's good. The leaves aren't falling from the trees yet.
Right? Is it?
That's right.
Yeah. So we're still in the summer.
There you go. We made it. Any questions for Jeff? Not roll out. Move on to the ontology. Mosa, you turned your camera on. You have a question?
No, I do
You're-
not have a question. I just wanted to show my face.
Hi, Mosa. Okay. Good to see you. All right, let's move on to Mark Abajian, who will talk to us about what's happening with the ontology working group.
Hi there. Let me get started here. Just a moment, please. Can you see this screen, which is a slide?
The slide, yeah.
Okay. Can you see this screen, which says Ontology Tutorials?
Yes.
Okay. Then let's get going. Okay, so new I2B2 Ontology Tutorials. My name is Mark Abajian. I'm volunteering with the I2B2 Transmart Foundation's Ontology Working Group. I'm glad to have opportunity to share this information with you. We have new tutorials that we've been building. So we'll be talking, what I'll be discussing today is introductions about me and the group, our motivation and goals for this project. I'll show you the tutorial pages, and then I have a slide with resources, and we'll have a few minutes for question and answer if you have any. So introductions, Ontology Working Group. This is a bunch of people who are working to make ontologies better for you. We meet once a month. We're led by Michelle Morris, and our next meeting will be this Thursday. Thank you, Michelle, for this wonderful slide. I'm not sure why we have a rock band playing there, but I do tell you that once a month on Thursdays we have a rocking good time. So feel free to join us. I'm Mark Abajian. I have some number of years in software development, 5 years with informatics software, LA native, fluent in Armenian. I've been a member of the Ontology Working Group since 2024. Before that, I was a member of the Data Harmonization Working Group with ACT. You can find out more about me at my website. So the mission of the Ontology Working Group is to support ontology development by fostering discussions and projects focused on sustainability, advancement, and outreach. For sustainability, we mean we want to get things, we want to reduce the effort needed to get ontology-related stuff into I2B2. We want to make it easier for people to get this advancement. We want to identify and work with institutions that are implementing changes to custom ontologies, that type of thing, so that we can progress and make things available that are globally useful to the I2B2 community. And outreach, that's part of what we're doing today, is we're sharing with you tools and resources that can be useful for people who are working with the I2B2 ontologies. So what are the ontologies? Well, you've seen, I'm sure, looking at the I2B2 user interface, you see that there's a list, a tree of concepts that you can use to make queries. It's very complete, especially the ACT ontology is very complete with lots of options for identifying various aspects of the patient database. A lot of times there's people who get I2B2, they're new to I2B2, they're new to informatics, and this can be overwhelming for them. And so we're thinking there must be some way to help sysadmins and data curators who are coming to I2B2 without the official context of having worked with this kind of thing before. There are existing documents all over the internet about I2B2 and ontologies and how these things work, where they come from, but they're dispersed and they're from multiple perspectives. And so we wanted to make some kind of a central hub where we want to be able to educate I2B2 sysadmins and data curators on the best ways to, on what the ontology is all about and how to make it work for them. So what we did, we started last year, and actually in October, we identified and reviewed all the existing ontology documentation resources. We selected topics of importance we thought this is important for people who are new to I2B2. We prioritized them to make sure we get something out as soon as possible that can be useful to the community. So we developed a tutorial course, and we wanted to format the course as FAQs, because guess what? Not everyone likes to read a bunch of text about stuff, right? But if it's put in the form of an FAQ, we find it's easier to read. And so we decided to do that with our course. So the tutorials are located at this website, and I'm going to try and go over to that right now. Can you see the ontology tutorials? I hope you can. So this is a page in the community wiki, and as it says here, the intended audience is people who are new to I2B2 who want to learn about the ontologies. And we're accepting feedback here. We welcome your feedback. I'll explain how to do that in a moment. I want to acknowledge that this is building on ontology tutorials that were prepared by Matvi and Jay in the past. So thank you to them. So the course is here, Ontologies 101, 102. These are the introductory topics. There's some advanced topics and some appendices. Let's start with the Ontologies 101. And see, this is introduction to your first I2B2 ontology. We'll be adding a page here for explaining how to use the total num to get patient counts into your ontology. And ontology table structure and query mechanism, your first customization, adding comments to your ontology, and then new query breakdowns. Advanced topics include custom metadata, how to build, how to modify an existing ontology, or how to build your own ontology tree if you want to add something that's going to be uniquely usable by your research team. And then role-based permissions, you can limit which parts of the ontology are visible to which kinds of researchers, and then concept modifiers, another advanced topic. Let me share with you this introduction. And so, for example, we want to identify the learning objectives for this. Part 1 is ontology basics. What is an ontology? Why does I2B2 have an ontology? Part 2, choosing your ontology. I2B2 comes with, you may recall, 3 different ontology types. There's the default or demo ontology. There's the ACT ontology, which is going to be released in version 1.8.2 as version 4.2 of the ACT ontology. And there's an ACT on OMOP ontology for people who are using the OMOP data model instead of the standard I2B2 data model. So how do you choose which one you want to use for your I2B2 deployment? And then deploying your ontology, instructions on how to do that, and then explanation of how ontologies work and how it is tied together with the patient data, how the ontology makes the data queryable. That's all explained here. You don't need any special ontology pre-knowledge for using this tutorial. It's written so that someone with even no prior history with I2B2 or ontologies will be able to get started setting up as a sysadmin or a data curator in their I2B2. Okay, let me go back over here. So it's a work in progress. Your comments are welcome. I'm sorry, let me explain about the comments. So comments, I think, are not quite working right now. There was recently a change to the I2B2 community, I2B2 wiki setup. But in general, you double click on something, a little speech bubble appears. It says add inline comment. You can click on that, and anonymously you can add a comment that we will receive. The CAPTCHA apparently is not working right now, so this is not going to work, but we'll get that fixed, and you'll be able to leave comments for us. Please add your name, because otherwise it's going to be anonymous. We won't know who you are. That's one way to leave a comment in line. And then there's always, on these tutorial pages, a comment space at the bottom. And you can write a comment here and send that to us. Again, some CAPTCHA here is not working. We'll get that working, and you'll be able to comment on these. So the authors are myself, Philip Trevette, working on Ontology 101. Mary Helen Mays assisted with our with appendix, the glossary, appendix A. Stacy Thorson is working on Ontologies 201. Jeff Clan is working on Ontologies 102. Thank you very much to everyone who has been participating in that. And working group, well, our meetings are, excuse me, pardon me, our meetings are once a month on the 3rd Thursday, and Michelle Morris is our lead. We're going to meet this Thursday at noon Eastern Time on Zoom. Here's a Zoom link. Our wiki, which is in transition, is here. This is for the Ontology Working Group. There will probably have a new wiki link in the future, but you'll be able to search for us on the community wiki. So be happy to open up to any questions. If anyone has any questions about our ontology tutorials and on future plans for that.
Thanks, Mark. And thanks to the whole ontology working group. They're a super active group and super important information. And a lot of work put this together. So
it's really beautiful. I mean,
thank you, Sean. Thank you, Diane.
awesome. Before we move on to a sneak preview of the new website that Mitch will walk us through, like I said, there's a pretty packed agenda. I totally forgot that we wanted to mention another exciting thing that we made available, a Docker image for our new I2B2. So I'm going to turn this over to Kavi for a couple of minutes. He can share his screen and talk through it. I also didn't mention that we have a Docker working group the 3rd Wednesday of every month. So that information is on our website as well. So a lot of very rich technical conversation around the Docker. So Kavi, let me hand it to you.
Sure. Thanks, Diane. So we presented, I think, a lot of this stuff on one of the monthly meetings. So I just have a couple of slides, quickly walk through it. So we've been working on I2B2 Docker for a while, and we really wanted to put a lot of effort on helping with this release, if we can do it on Docker. And so currently there are 4 use cases that the documentation of I2B Docker handles. One is, installing Docker from scratch if people are just interested in looking at a demo install. And second one is, if you don't have an I2B database, how you can initialize the I2B, your production I2B database with, the demo data templates which are there. And then a conventional install that you have your existing I2B2 database and you just want to use Docker containers to connect to this database. That's a conventional install. And then once you have your core containers in core I2B2 services and containers, how can you update them? Right. So these use cases are handled in the user documentation. And we presented this last time. It just talks about a Docker ecosystem where anybody is able to generate the containers from the I2B2 source code in GitHub. And so we do this right now. We generate the containers and and they're deposited in Docker Hub, and you have and then there are some security checks which happen, which are fixed internally by the team, and the code is updated. So the idea of this is to simplify the installation and code maintenance, and with a view of also keeping, importantly, the security in mind. Yeah, so this is the naming convention that we have. For example, here is a repository, I2B2 GitHub repository name, and then we put a tag. So right now, since this is all, we are testing the 1.8.2 release. So we are testing from the master branch, and you can see the tag of the date when the master branch on the core server this contains was generated. You can imagine the tag will change to the actual version 1.8.2, and then you will always have a date prefix because the containers are generated more frequently than the release itself, because there might be security patches. So let me stop here. If there are any questions, otherwise I'm happy to hand back.
Yeah, that's excellent, Kavi. Kavi, is the 1.8.2 in those other master releases, or are they still 1.8.1?
Yeah. So right now, so these are all 1.8.2 in all the other releases, right? So whatever is there in master right now, this is last week, right? Whatever is in master, and these are all 1.8.2 code coming into the master. This is what's tested right now, and is very and the moment we have the release tag to the master, in the GitHub repo, we'll be able to have the Docker tag generated. So this is 1.8.2.
Yeah, so this is all the latest code. So to answer Mosa's question, if folks download these master tags for the server, for the web client, and then for the database of choice, they should be able to run that out of Docker.
Thank you, Sean. I was thinking if we could try out some of the AI capabilities. I don't know if there will be any kind of setup, or I don't know if it's feasible as well to set up a demo site, but just wondered about it.
Yeah, it's a great question. So most of the AI features are being packaged in the next release. Although we will add them to the GitHub as they, as we release them. So, so yes, Mosa, we'll make sure that they, they get in, of course, and can be tested. This one mostly includes those things that Jeff was showing.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Kavi. I'm excited about the Docker. We're for two reasons. One, it'll make it easier for people to install ITB2 from the ground up and updates, but also just keeping track of what's going on with security within ITB2 is just got to be the top of our list of importance. So that's really going to help. So super excited about that. So I want to jump in. I'm going to share my screen. Niche Watterson is going to be giving us a sneak preview of new work that he started around developing a new website for I2B2. I think we're doing a pretty good job in adding features and doing a lot to I2B2, but we do not do a good job in advertising what I2B2 is. And the foundation website doesn't do a good job either. So I'm really hoping that this will help. So let me share my screen. Mitch, are you still there?
I'm still here. Thank you.
All right. I'm going to let you take it away.
Perfect. You can just make that full screen. Thank you so much, Matt. And you can advance to the next slide. Sorry, I'm at a conference right now.
Let's see. I have a hard time with. Let's see. All right.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. Yeah. So basically, I have given us a quick sneak peek back in June at the annual conference annual meeting, but I have a couple of new updates. So just this slide is really just why redesign the I2B2 website. I don't think I don't think anyone really needs to have a reason for why. But basically, we're trying to consolidate a lot of the information, as Diane mentioned, into a new website, present it in a way that can be easily understandable from a new user's point of view. Of course, we're trying to integrate a website into a very modern, look and feel that works across, an iPad, a phone, and so forth. And really, the idea is really we wanted to, be able to convey and reflect, all the kind of innovation contributions and impact that I2B2 has had on research so far, but in a way that's easily digestible. If you can advance to the next slide, please. So this is kind of what the front page looks like right now. It really just highlights the typical
The new
website.
front page.
The new front. Oh, yes, thank you. The coming soon front page. It highlights, it conveys the typical kind of software website that you would land on that is like a, here's a platform that you can see, but here is the query tool that Jeff just showed. This is the modernized query tool kind of up front, and then you start to kind of dig into exactly what I2B2 is. So, there's something very splashy, and then you can kind of dig in, and then the next slide I'll go into perfect. And so this is just scrolling down naturally on that front page, and this is just kind of giving a I2B2 can do many things, and this is just giving an example workflow use cases of how someone would use I2B2. And this is kind of going back to Mark's point. We have so much information, we have the ontology and so forth, but we don't really present it in a good way where just a new person not even knowing I2B2 or even just being introduced to I2B2 can finally get the big picture of what from data to discovery. And so here it just goes step by step. Like, for example, step one, finding the patient cohort. I think everyone on this call is familiar with that, using the ontology, using the query tool. But then step two is digging in, taking a couple of further steps. And this is exactly what Jeff presented, being able to export, aggregated or full data sets in I2B2 1.8.2. If you can go to the next slide. And then taking those data sets being able to put it into R or other analytical platforms to do data science and further analytics, and then ultimately in step 4, being able to work with gold standards and machine learning to develop computed phenotypes and basically put that back into ITP2 so that you can better query data, better query the data in the future. Go to the next slide. Of course, there's also a software page, so I don't think we're going to change the URL of this, so itp2.org/software, but this is going to present the various distribution mechanisms of ITv2 in a more kind of concise way. And so, of course, we have the quick install. There's going to be the source code, and then there's, you can see like there's a 4th tab there for the presentation that Kavi just showed for how to get started with the Docker distribution. And then, of course, a lot of this will link to various forms of documentation, and then, of course, the official GitHub, which contains all of the source repository. Go to the next slide. As Mark mentioned, also, people love reading frequently asked questions. I guess questions that other people have asked, but we present this in a way where we just create a couple different, a few different frequently asked questions of, what is ITB2, who uses it, and so forth. So this is something that would be found also on the front page. And it just kind of, it's just really, it's not comprehensive, but it highlights some of the, ITB2's best features, what types of data it can handle, all the way to how, how I can get started at my institution. And you can go to the next slide. So as I mentioned, this is just a slide about showing that, it's naturally, just like most modern websites now, resizing the browser. So the website's going to work across iPads and mobile devices. And I think the next slide, I think that's it. Yep. Perfect. So we're working through all the sub pages right now. And we hope to be able to release this soon, very soon. Hopefully not a 3rd sneak peek. Thanks very much.
That's awesome, Mitch. Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
Yeah. Hey, Diane.
Yeah, here.
Is anyone from this group here attending the OMA meeting in October? Is it early October? Yeah, early October.
Steph and I attended, I think the year before last, but no, I didn't have that on my docket this year. There is the November AMIA one. I think I'm focusing more on AMIA. Are you attending OMA?
Yeah, community is it's not related to
Aaron, you're breaking up.
and, that a new website is really needed, but getting people to come to it really on a train. Can anybody hear me?
You were breaking up there, Aaron.
Yeah. It would be great to get people to come to the new website, and going to the OMOP meeting is one way to get I2B2 in front of people.
Yeah, I think Jeff and Diane went last year.
I wish I could go this year, but it's not going to work out.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. We went 2 years ago, and the type of presentation that I was selected for did not work well, but perhaps we should apply for a better presentation and go again next year.
Yeah, for sure. Mark?
Yeah, hi. I have a question for Jeff. Jeff, yours was a very difficult presentation to follow. Thank you very much for excellent presentation. I have a follow-up question for you. So, my question is, it looks like there's an update to the Wildfly that you're using for I2B2. And if someone has, for example, 181, maybe they're using Wildfly 17, but it looks like you're going to Wildfly 37. I'm wondering, can they install this 182 on Wildfly 17, or would they need to upgrade to 37?
You need to upgrade. Yeah, it's a mandatory upgrades to these new libraries. The APIs have changed and we can't support both. So
Okay, thank you.
sure.
Yeah, I should mention, so these meetings are every other month. And what I'd really like to do is I'd really like to get people from the community that are using I2B2 to come and present some of their use cases. Maybe if they're working on a research project that's using I2B2, they can come and show us what they've done. So I really want to throw that out there. I'll be sending notes out to the community the best I can to try to reach people. It is hard to reach people though, by the way, it's, you know, you don't want to spam them with too many emails, but, so if you're here and you know somebody that's doing something neat, please, encourage them to join us. Any other thoughts, questions, comments? All right, I think we'll give people 4 minutes back to the day, and feel free to, if you have thoughts or questions, that come up, please feel free to reach out to me, email me. Definitely love to hear from you.
Good to see you.
All right,
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Diane.
Thank you.
thanks everyone. Bye.